Yeah, hey, thanks, Tim. I've got it, and I think I'm logged on now.
Regular meeting of the Red Oak City Council to order Monday, December 16th, here at the Red Oak Fire Station located at 1904 North Broadway at the Red Oak Fire Station, and it is 5:30. Invocation by Kevin Berry with River of Life Church. Please stand. Thank you, Pastor.
Heavenly Father, first of all, we thank you for a gorgeous day, a gorgeous December day, and we thank you for this opportunity to be together and to discuss things that are important to each of us and to our city. Lord, please, we invite you to be here to help us to discuss civilly and to understand each other's point of view. Lord, we know that life presents many problems, but you are the one that can show us the way to truth and to peace. Lord, please help us, guide us, and make this evening a positive and peaceful event. Amen.
Amen. Adam, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Ashley?
Bradley. Here. Bill.
Here.
Rydolph.
Here.
Isaac. Hebrink.
Number 5, approval of the agenda.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Rydolph, Bradley, roll call.
Bill.
Yes.
Rydolph.
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Hebrink.
Yes.
Bradley. Yes.
All right. Number 6, proclamation of special notices. We have 2 to report tonight. Excited to do this, so I'm just going to come forward. First of all, we're going to recognize our police officer, Ethan Stewart, for his graduation at the academy. Ethan, if you'd like to come up front here to the podium, Chief and I will just acknowledge you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is so what was the most exciting part of the academy?
Not getting pepper sprayed. That was not. That's always a surprise. That was not it. How did like just driving actually, just driving fast. That was not fun.
So for those of you in the crowd, so Ethan just graduated one of 42 317 basic Iowa Law Enforcement Academy on Friday. So he was up at Johnston for 16 weeks to get trained at a total of 636 hours of training with the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy. So welcome back.
Yeah.
and we don't necessarily have to do that again, so we're just pleased that he's here. Thank you, and to the family.
Thank you.
No, I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, now I'd like my Mayor's Youth Advisory Council members who are present to come forward. Hard to get these students together on this day and time, let me tell you. Dave? You want to come join us, please?
Who's Cynthia? I gotta ask her.
And Cynthia, oh, there's Cynthia too. Sure, please come up here. So while I serve on the board of directors for the Iowa League of Cities, I did not nominate our group for this award. It's the very first year that they have acknowledged this award. It's a community champion award. And it is dedicated basically for an organization that is working in conjunction with the city to do betterment projects for the community. Eligible community members are individuals and community groups that have shown initiative in working with their city to develop programs, services, and amenities that are beneficial to their community and improve the lives of the residents. The criteria is the emphasis for the award selection is on impactful and meaningful service that fosters community well-being in their city. This can include volunteering efforts or spearheading collaborative initiatives with the city and other groups. While the normal process is that a community member or an elected official can nominate them, the League of Cities staff were aware of what all the youth council were doing with their kiosk that they developed, raised the money for, and held an open house or a ribbon cutting for just this summer. So they dedicated basically a trail sign and map for Indian Gully City Park. They also painted water hydrants this summer for helping us clean up for RAGBRAI. And they just continue to do all sorts of community service. So these are two of my newest young members. And Cynthia Bankston and Dave Dimmitt are advisors to this program. I could not do it without them. They bring an amazing piece to this program. Dave Dimmitt is a retired U.S. Marshal and teacher. And Cynthia is a contractor, housing developer, and just all around amazing, both of them community service folks. So they bring great leadership, and I think we build really good friendship. So I'm going to keep this at the City Hall, but this is what it says. Community Champion, Iowa League of Cities recognizes the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, the City of Red Oak, for their service to the community in 2024. And only one other young lady won the award this year. How old?
Enjoy.
She was 13. Her name is Ella Wagner from the city of Altoona. Her work with the city of Altoona was to plan and build a splash pad at Haynes Park, where she began her campaign with a letter to her mayor and donated the first dollar to the project. Over several years of letter writing and support, the city of Altoona completed the new splash pad in 2023, providing fantastic amenity for residents and visitors. And the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board, with their creation of the Youth Day of Service, these young residents of Red Oak have worked with the city to showcase youth-led initiatives and better connect youth with city projects. The Youth Advisory Council has worked year-round to make their voices heard on a city level and to advocate on behalf of their peers on key issues. So really proud of these folks. The state could have selected anyone else. And so congratulations on behalf of me and the Iowa League of Cities. Please say your names and.
Owen Blystone, and I'm a sophomore here at Red Oak.
I'm Annabelle Caesar, and I'm a junior here at Red Oak.
Actually 9 members. A couple of them are sick today, so.
There's a lot more fire hydrants that need to be painted.
Oh, yeah.
I could go around the Tesla West Street.
Well, they had do them in the heat of the summer. It was like
Well,
June
yeah.
or July. So,
Well, a neighbor's getting tired of looking at one of my neighbors.
Good job, guys.
Number 7, a city administrator's update on curbside garbage planning and discussions with our haulers.
So for the city council and everyone here that is interested in the garbage topic, just want to give some background. There was a lot of things that we kind of read on social media and heard that just are not factual. And so first of all, to kind of start out, for the last 3 years, the community has been working on their comp plan. Later today, we'll have a public hearing. Of the 4 top goals in the community, one was to improve the visual appearance of our community. And so one of the key components that the council is focused on, and if you go on our website, you can see the comp plan, but you have a goal of visually more appealing community. And then under that, there's objectives. One of them is to have a curbside garbage program. And that didn't just come from the 5 people here and the mayor coming up with that. That's been discussed for a number of years. And so we wanted to make sure that people understood that this has been discussed for a while. I know the community has discussed it numerous times and not brought it to fruition. So as the council gave me the goal back in October to start thinking about how we could implement something effectively and as fairly as we could, we first have to balance all the kinds of things that are important and that the council has to weigh. So one of them that we've heard is about freedom of choice, of course, that people want to be able to choose that. That's probably one of the most difficult ones if we were to do a citywide pickup to really at the administrative level, figure out a way that we could collect the funds, put it on your utility bill and be able to feed that back to whichever haulers it was. And had an open mind through those conversations, but I think that's probably the biggest challenge. Another thing that we've heard is about supporting our local businesses. Obviously, when it comes to haulers, the true definition of someone that this city council would look at from a local perspective would be someone within our city limits and who's a tax-paying entity, and that's obviously Baton. So while many people in the community have town and country, we have to balance again how we handle the difference between those two. And one of the things that we talked about with myself and Lynette, the owner of Baton, and Kevin, the owner of Town and Country, is how we balance that. But what we know is that the majority of citizens that choose to get garbage here already at the curbside level, approximately, I think Lynette has estimated around 1,000 homes, and Kevin has estimated around 700, maybe give a little bit higher number. It could be 1,000 to 1,100, maybe 700 to 800. In terms of water utility customers, we have 2,400. That means that there's 700 houses, somewhere between 500 and 700 houses that are not using a current curbside service with one of those 2 haulers. I know that there is Poor Boys and Southwest Sanitation would probably be the other 2, but from the indication that we've received, it's a very small number. And so that's not adding up to something close to 2,400. I've spoken to someone that works at the landfill and there's not 500 people coming, you know, granted, sometimes I think landlords are picking up some people's garbage and taking it. So when we looked at all those things, we've had conversations. When you look at the balance in any decision that we make, when we're trying to support local business, there's also the recognition that we might often pay more money to support local businesses. So you can look at if you had a car dealership and you could do a state bid versus purchasing a squad car from a local dealer. There's times where city councils will often pay more money to be able to support a local business. And I think what the council has explained in their individual conversations with me, just to give me some feedback, is that we want to do our best to support the local businesses that we have here. Now, again, balancing that Town and Country is not what we would define as a true local business. There's been rumors out there that the big, you know, kind of the big haulers that are just going to undercut people. So that might be somebody out of Omaha. People talk about the Shenandoah. No one from those companies has reached out to me, and I have had no conversations with any of those haulers. The focus of my conversations has only been with Lynette and Kevin as the owners of the 2 companies that have the vast majority of hauling done here. And just to kind of help you to have a perspective that the council has to balance, and I believe the council wants to support local. But to understand the financial impact, and again, if we do this on the utility bill, it's a pass-through to the citizens that for the most part, minus some administrative costs, we are gonna be charging to make sure that everyone has it, and then it would be on your utility bill if it went through, as most communities that have a citywide service do. When we look at the numbers compared to like a Shenandoah, I know the mayor spoke to the mayor down there, and then I spoke to our city attorney on the phone today. She pulled up her utility bill. Just to help people understand what that price is here, if we all take that we pay about $26 compared to what that is. Balancing the supporting local businesses, we as a community at 2,400 houses could be spending $500,000, almost $500,000 more to support those two companies. That doesn't mean that we don't think that we should, but that's a factor in balancing supporting local and looking at the best price. A typical thing that a council would do is look at the best price and bid it out. I think my recommendation to the council is that, and I've told this to Lynette and Kevin, is that we sort of move along from the idea of getting the best price right now and focus more on supporting our two local businesses. So our goal is either that we would contract with Lynette as the true local business at Batten, and that she could subcontract to TNC if she feels that she is not capable of providing service to the 2,400 houses. Or I don't have a problem recommending to the council that we would have two equal, identical contracts with both of them and separate the town. So if we were to do that, there's gonna be people that still might have their hauler that they choose, because they could be, if we split the town in half and let them each take half, we could say, I'm making up a street, but Oak Street is our north-south border, where it's about half of the houses, and we say one hauler has north of Oak and one has south of Oak. So that we can easily explain to someone coming in for utilities, this is your day, and at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter who your hauler is, because we're gonna have the same standards for both of them. When I hear people talk about why they choose one or the other, just as in any business, people have an opinion about why one they've chosen over the other. An interesting fact that they both told me is that sometimes the reason people switch, the truth is that they haven't paid their bill. And that one of them has declined to serve them because they haven't paid their bill. And so it's easy to say, now I'm gonna switch to the other one, which eventually will catch up to you, because if you're that kind of person, then eventually your second one is you're eventually not gonna pay either. But that is a challenge that they have, that again, when you look at the positives for the hauler, while everybody seems to have made comments on there about the negatives, is that we would be doing all the billing, so it'd be easier for them. We would be doing all the explaining, we would be doing the collections. And the key is that there is no longer somebody not paying the bill, because just like your utility bill, if you don't pay it, you have that service. We have the ability to charge you differently than they do to come after you in small claims, or to just choose to take a loss as a private business owner, which isn't really fair to them when they've provided the service, and they usually give people some fair shake to catch up and pay their bill. But at some point they need to choose that. So again, for those of you that feel strongly against it, we would encourage you to drive around and truly look, go up and down alleys. We have people in the street department that spend a lot of time, especially at this time of year. I've had citizens come up to me. I don't feel like the people who are in favor of it are as vocal. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a popular thing. But if you choose to slow down in an alley and look up and down the streets and look in people's backyard, it's somewhat epidemic that we have a very big problem of people not getting rid of their garbage. I've heard from numerous people, including, I can attest to this, where I live. I've never lived in a place where I have to pick up garbage every day or every day before I mow my lawn. That's a direct correlation to not having garbage service, because people will still be hoarders. There are people that we are always going to have to deal with that have true epidemics. Like, we've talked to someone who said they helped somebody, I think actually a council member talked about it, that they had a garage that was filled with 2 years worth of garbage, and that one of them went there and helped them take disgusting, stinky, rotten garbage worth of 2 years worth of garbage out of someone's garage. I've had people call me and say that they have a rental property next door, and that it's like their worst nightmare when the renters move out and that it's vacant for a while, because now cockroaches have no place to eat. And so they literally have to hire exterminators when those are empty houses, because the cockroaches come out and find a new place to go. And so they have to spend money. So as much as people feel like it's your free choice, the things that cities regulate typically are for orderliness, just like zoning. We don't say you can build your house wherever you want. We have setbacks so that you're in a certain place. And so this really is the most basic thing, just like water, sewer, electric. is that many communities look at garbage. So nobody's trying to cram things down anybody's throat. Nobody's not trying to recognize that people want to be able to choose that. I've heard things, again, some of the council members asked me to address some things like a monopoly. So in the purest form, if we bid it out, there's no monopoly because the monopoly and the competition is at the citywide level. Somebody's going to give you the best price because they want the business. And then over some amount of years, we're going to do that again. And let's say we did a 3, 4, or 5-year contract, they have to set their prices there. They don't just get to come in a year later and say, hey, we're going to raise it and gouge you now because we got your contract. We're going to set those prices. There's going to be a reasonable amount that they have to predict what their costs are going to go up. Let's say it's inflation, like a 3%. We're going to recognize that. If we choose not to go on a bidding process to try and support those two or for sure Lynette, we've asked them to say, like, for the things that we're doing instead of you, our hope is that they will come down in the council conceding to not bidding it out to get the best price, that they would come back and say, if we are mostly, like I pay $26 at my house, I think when I called Town and Country, I have Batten. When I called Town and Country, it was the same price. And if there's something less than that, so at a minimum, if we have a small charge for things like a spring and fall cleanup that we would have to pay for, if we have our administrative costs, let's say it's $1, my hope is that if we were to negotiate with the two haulers, that we can get it down on their price to something that's not worse than what anybody who has the service is paying now. Some of the other things that we've talked about is while people not, nobody's gonna say we have the best streets, right? Like no communities have great streets because they're so expensive. We do the best that we can, but it's very expensive to be able to fix them. And so when you choose to allow the free market to just let every garbage truck come in and out of town, when we build commercial roads, when we build Broadway, when we build Senate, when we have the highway, obviously we don't build that, the state does. Those roads are built to a different standard. They have a thicker amount of asphalt and concrete. And when you build residential roads, you can't build them and you don't need to build them at a cost that is for more industrial and commercial traffic. But the consequence to having 4 or 5 garbage trucks coming down every street and every alley, because we don't regionalize them and say you're allowed here and there, that means that there's a harder wear and tear. That's a long-term impact to the community. And it's something that the council has to weigh as opposed to everybody's civil rights to pick it. And I think what we're saying is while we understand people want that choice, there is a consequence to neighbors when you don't have that. I think that I've heard from people that realtors can say directly that if you're trying to sell a house and right next door to you is a trailer full of garbage, people don't want to buy the house or they want to buy it for less. So all of those things impact our tax base, the value that a house is set at. Assessors have what's market value. So, I mean, we literally have houses that are worth $18,000 that people are living in. And that's, again, not common. And some of that is impacted by the long-term consequence of not having a garbage hauler. So I think those are the main things. Another thing that I think, one other thing I think that the council brought up was, that if we were to choose solely our local hauler with Batten and allowing them, if Lynette's not able to provide that service on her own with 2,400 houses, she would have to set that up, but we would be open to that. We're not going to mandate that it's either Lynette providing that with her people and her employees and staff and equipment or somebody else. And so we're trying to be as flexible as we can be, sort of checking boxes off what's important to the community as a whole, and also trying to be respectful of the citizens and what they want. And again, it doesn't mean that when decisions are made that everyone will be happy or that everyone is agreeing, but we're not trying to do anything that hasn't been talked about before or that hasn't become a priority of the community, just in terms of our ability to improve our community one small decision at a time. And so that's kind of, I think, where we're at with the decision. I think that addresses nuisance abatements as well. I've heard people say that we should just have our nuisance person. Before we had Bill, now we have Taylor. He's been here since May. When I ran a report for his calls, it's 80 different people that we've dealt with in 7 months that are garbage people. And it's not as simple as like, hey, Lisa, you have garbage in your yard. Can you just pick it up? And then I go, okay, I'll get it out tomorrow. It's a very long, tedious process. And so again, when you're looking at the overall good, it doesn't mean that there are people that are hoarders that will go away. But certainly when you're paying $20, $25 a month and we provide you with a garbage cart, if that's the choice that we make, you will put your garbage out there. It doesn't mean that you will suddenly not be a hoarder. And there may be people, we all know where they are, that have lots of things outside and we still have to deal with them. But on the everyday garbage, no one can say that they don't produce garbage. And so by giving people a tool in their toolbox at their household level to be able to get rid of it, and right or wrong, it is forced upon them if the council were to go down this route that we are going to, if the council decides to change the ordinance, charge the fee. If you are paying it, you will use it. It doesn't mean it's perfect, but it's a lot easier to call a person and say, you have a cart. You know, you have issues in your house, put your garbage in your cart, not haul your garbage. You have a car, it's gross. How are you getting to the landfill? You know, Batten and TNC are not just showing up for a one-time cleanup most often, like they're looking for permanent accounts and things like that. So I think, I don't know if the council has anything else. I think I tried to address everything that we've either read about, that's true, untrue. Try to make sure that at least before you come up, and we'll ask Kevin and Lynette to come up as well. We've had 3 meetings with the 3 of us to try and, again, listen to theirs. Of course, they're gonna advocate for their customers, which people who choose one of them or the other are going to, you know, the ideal situation for them is to just kind of leave everything the way that it is. But as I explained to them, the council has a somewhat different perspective on trying to protect the people and the property and the overall community as they were elected to make decisions. And so I don't know if the elected officials, if you have anything else you want to add, or if we just want to invite Lynette first and then Kevin second. And then I think the mayor's intention is to open it up to the public.
I was just gonna mention about the toters.
Okay, so, you know, another thing is sometimes people choose to put bags out. Like I put my first can out and I had a cover on it, and the first day that I put it out, it's tipped over and there's crap everywhere and I have to pick up my chicken bones, which is not pleasant to me. If you look at communities that have the toters, what would be a 66-gallon cart, they're heavy, they don't tip over, the tops flip, so no rodents get up there and flip those tops off. They just don't have the same kind of impact to that. People have talked about people's ability to get those carts out to the curb, which you would have to do. Again, I can only speak to, if we're a small community, we have to help take care of each other. And so if you have a neighbor or a grandmother or a senior citizen near you, if you can be helpful and try to bring it to the curb for them, you know, that's certainly a consequence to that. But I have not seen it be an epidemic problem where, you know, every community that people have, all have senior citizens. They all have older people on fixed incomes. And in the end, again, I think what we've talked about is that the overall good of the community is that it's better. So our intention would be, at least in our discussions, that everyone would be provided a cart. And what we talked about, at least what I would be proposing to the council, is that the city would choose to pay a portion of that, as opposed to putting in most cases, when you bid it out to the larger nationwide haulers, they simply provide those as a part of getting the contract. It's just part of the cost of doing business. But we recognize that the cost of somewhere around 100, and I think at a high end, it could be $150,000 to buy those carts. That's a big burden for our local haulers. And so we've looked at doing some sort of a cost share. Maybe we would, as a city, again, the council choosing to use money that we have as an investment in one of those goals to clean up the image of our community and get rid of that garbage. So say on a $75 toter garbage cart, we may say that 60% of it would come from the city, and that we would ask if we had 2 haulers, we would have each of them perhaps pay 20%. And then in return, they would have some number of years that they would be guaranteed this contract. And then at the end of it, it could be like an automatic renewal, or at some point, maybe bid it out, but we'll have to see. You know, you never know who's still in business and what they're doing. And so that's kind of where we're going, as opposed to, and then it would be like the same day, like however, whatever the region is that we break off and that they feel like they could serve, there would be a map. You would get it when you sign up. It would be online that says, if you're in this part of the city, you're Monday, you're Tuesday, you're Wednesday, whatever it is. Obviously, like holidays, you'd be a day later, we would publicize that. But everybody's carts would go out on the same day and they would go back in. So instead of having all these different days where garbage is at the curb, it again has a different visual effect in your community and how you present yourself, that the garbage are, you know, carts are out. And then most cities will have a requirement that you have to haul them up within, you know, the next morning. You don't just get to leave them at the curb or something like that. So those are the kinds of things that most communities would regulate. So I think that's all I have. So I would say if you're good, you can actually go.
Does anyone, council, have anything they'd like to add?
Not right now.
Okay, all right.
You know, I do have something to say, and I this is probably not going to be the most popular statement, However, in my opinion, we have one local hauler. And we have a couple of other haulers that reside in our county, but when you're talking about, dealing with the two major haulers, one of them doesn't even pay taxes to the Montgomery County Courthouse. I feel like that's important. I have no problem with anyone doing business in our town as long as it's going through a local hauler, which would be Baton Sanitation, and then it can be subbed out however it needs to be from there. But I really feel like if we're going to give a local option preference, which we're talking about, probably double the cost if we went to a nationwide hauler. If we're going to give that preference, I really feel like we need to get the benefit of having a local hauler do that. So I'll say no more about that.
Thank you, Brian. All right, Lynette, would you like to come up, please?
And do you want to say like, because they're the haulers, they're not limited to
Yes.
3 minutes?
Yeah, I'm Lynette with Baton Sanitation. I'm gonna make this short and sweet. Baton Sanitation we appreciate that you're considering not going out for bids. I am speaking for Kevin and I both. We've worked on this together with Town and Country. Well, anyway, we appreciate you considering not going out for bids and giving us the opportunity to continue to service our community. We truly do care about our community and our customers. As a longtime member of this community, not only as a business, as a citizen, friend to many. With that being said, I also feel I owe it to them to help them what they want. And as elected officials voted by them, I hope you also listen to their wants. I'm hoping you'll take the time and not push this through. It's been exhausting. It really has. And I do appreciate it. There's so much more gaps in all this, more things that need to be, that have to be settled that really are not. I mean, it all sounds real good and but there's a lot of things that I see now coming into our commercial accounts. With if people have dumpsters, I think they should be able to have those dumpsters if they bought them, if they're townhouses. Anyway, that's, like I said, I'm keeping it short and sweet, and I appreciate it. And I'm gonna turn it over to Kevin.
I will say, while Kevin's coming up, it was our intention that it would be single family homes, duplexes. And then we would probably write like a flexibility for like a 3 or 4 unit. So for example, the new townhomes that'll go up on just north of Radcliffe, the new road that's out there, they have 5 units, but they're really like individual houses. They don't have their own garage, they have their own driveways, and so nobody's gonna want a dumpster up there. So I think that my thought would be there would be flexibility.
Okay. And I have one other question. When we first started, we talked for 200, there was 200,000. We've gone to
For what?
200,000 residents.
2,400 houses.
Yeah, it's gone up from 2 to 24.
Well, I rounded off because I hadn't asked the question,
Okay,
but when I
that's
had the staff with the water utility staff and billing, take residential customers, not commercial or multifamily, it's right around 2,400. So.
In the last 2 weeks, it's just changed. And I just wondered because I just didn't know if you were getting into my commercial accounts, which
No.
That's a good thing for me.
I worked in one community where they did commercial and it was a disaster. So I would concur because dumpster sizes change and then we wouldn't get the memo and we'd be charging them the wrong fee. And it's when they can choose different sizes, like a house is a house, they get the same cart. And so it's easier. So I think the only thing that we would think would make sense on a flexible area would be those, what we call multifamily. So if you're a 4-unit apartment where nobody has their own exterior entrance, you all come down a hallway, come out and go into a parking lot. That seemed like that would make sense to have a dumpster and not serve them. If it's the townhomes, like I said, that are just like 5 individual homes that are all connected and they're all gonna want their own garbage cart, then we could allow them to be on there. We just have to be making sure it's
Gonna have
clear.
some problems with that on some few of them, I know, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. All right.
Before this thing even got to this discussion level, been enough people jumping around in the mud puddle. They've got it all stirred up. We've lost sight of what we're gonna do. We need to just step back
I agree.
and and really consider what we want to do before we make any decision or even step off the curb.
That's all, that's another thing I want to ask, just take some time.
Our intention is not to make a decision today also, just so everyone knows.
So I'll.
And I agree with John, but this is not gonna be decision night, guys. This is gonna take some planning. That's gonna be with Lisa and our two providers working things out, like you said, making sure everything gets where there's nothing stirred up. All right, so now that there's not misconceptions put online to people, because that crap has happened and that shit needs to stop.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few of you in there that's done it. That's all I gotta say.
And I think what we're saying is that there's a difference between what I've explained to our haulers, is there's a difference between the council making a decision that we are going to have, if that's what you decide, that we're going to have curbside. That's one decision. And then we're not calling everybody and saying, and in 30 days, we're ready to go. There's gonna be time for us to work out the details. There's gonna be time if we find a cart producer that's gonna make us 2,400 carts, like that is not overnight. But as my opinion was, we're not gonna sit here and do nothing until August or September. Like, if this is important to the council, it'll be, are we doing this? Because at some point I can stop, like I'm busy and I have plenty of other things to do. So either we're focused because the council's committed to this and then it's working out the details, or not. And again, I made it very clear in the beginning of my memo, and I did post that on Talk of the Town, because that's kind of where most of the false statements were being made, that we were going to the Council Bluffs and Omaha and everything else. And so I put that on there and we said right in there, no decision. But I think because of everything that's been talked about, it made sense that at least people had an opportunity to hear from us, and obviously for them to speak as well. Is Kevin, are you gonna?
Hey, Kevin with Town and Country Sanitation, and to direct Mr. Bill's comment, first, I guess, as far as being a taxpayer. Yeah, no, do I pay taxes in Montgomery County? No. Did I for the first 20 years of my life? Yes. You know, I spend a lot of money and time with, whether it's school events, you know, social events, the public events, the golf course, the chamber, all that other stuff. So when it comes to actually being a taxpayer, you know, we buy all our groceries down here and everything to a certain extent. I got a plumber down here that shows up once in a while. Anyway, with that being said, just appreciate the time that Lisa has given us to, you know, to discuss in open discussions in regard to the mandatory trash service. I'd also like to say thanks for being open to other ideas, instead of just going out for the one bid. Looking into using current haulers to help, you know, alleviate some of this current trash issues that seems to be happening down here. But while making trash mandatory pickup, billing it on the utility, and uniform trash cans are beneficial concepts, I believe there are more details need to be taken in consideration. One size fits all approach does not work for everyone. For example, you know, I've got one person that has one single bag per week, and I'm talking maybe a grocery sack, lives next door to somebody that's got 5 kids, you know, and they're at their max. I don't feel it's fair that they would be paying the same price. And not that wouldn't be something that could be discussed as well, but and I do think this could be a beneficial part in helping keep the community clean. I believe we could continue business as we do today with the current haulers. And I say current haulers, meaning all of them. Add it to, and then add in a citywide cleanup that the current haulers could possibly provide roll-offs or whatever. And maybe, you know, we could possibly cut into some of that donation wise or whatever. I agree. And those dollars, excuse me, lost my train of thought there. And by doing that, you could partially eliminate in the beginning, at least, the idea of cleaning up these areas of town and taking the dollars that you have set aside or would set aside for the carts and use that for landfill expense and other needs within the city where that money would be allowed to be spent. Like, you know, as far as where it can be spent on where, you know, park, streets, whatever. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it short and not read everything on here, but I think once you would get a cleanup and get it done, and moving forward, and I'm not saying this is gonna be overnight, it's gonna take some time, you know, it might take a couple different, maybe a spring and a fall, and a couple times. But once you get on there, that would allow Taylor or whoever at the time would be the code enforcement officer to work on rewriting your ordinance to where it would read as it's, you know, you are allowed no more than 6 to 10 days of accumulation. I'm currently working on them for our city as well over the same situation. You know, you're only allowed to accumulate garbage and other items for X amount of days. Once after that, X amount of days, you are given a door hanger, you're given a citation, you're getting told, hey, you know, this is what I'm thinking, you know, you need to get it cleaned up. Then you go through the process of habitual violations. You know, I think ours reads like 30 days. That's entirely too long, you know, by the time.
Hours, he means Red Oak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Not Crystal, right.
yes, Red Oak, but I mean,
It says
Griswold
30.
also, but yes, I'm talking about Red Oak. And then at that end of that 30 days, you know, if that property's been cleaned up, well, now they got 30 more days to accumulate it. So there's some tweaking in there that I think could be done. Just by rewriting some of those ordinances or revisiting them and maybe making it stricter, you know, because as Lisa stated, and I'm very well aware of, there's plenty of ordinances that could be enforced everywhere, every city. So I guess I'm asking, you know, I'm asking to keep it the same and work around it the other way. But I would be open to continuing to discuss what we've been discussing. And I appreciate you guys, and I encourage the citizens to keep it calm, constructive communication, and don't believe everything you see on Facebook.
Kevin did bring up the idea when we met the last time on Thursday about the idea, and when we have our strategic planning session over the holidays, I think that what I said was, I think it's a great idea that if we chose again as one of our goals in the comp plan for how, you know, how people see our community and cleaning it up. I think it's a great idea if we could work with the haulers on some sort of drop days where we would do that. My kind of comment back to that was great idea, but I don't think it changes the long-term goal of perhaps having curbside. But I do think that he brought up a good point, and that it's, you know, even if we give you a cart and you have a ton of garbage, it takes a number of weeks to get rid of it. And so there could be validity to both, especially if we want kind of a stronger, faster impact right away.
Yeah, I want to clarify one point that was made there. I'm not sure if it's accurate. So the statement was made that it's not fair, one size fits all. If you have a family of 5, like lives behind me, and compared to someone like myself, who's one person living alone, why should I have to pay the same as the person behind me? Well, isn't that the way it works now, or am I mistaken about that?
I think that you guys have a small senior discount for like $21.
Yeah.
I know though that I worked in another community where they did that, and the state auditors came in and deemed that to be illegal, that you can't have age-based prices. What you can have is cart sizes. Again, when you look at the administrative size, I worked in a community that had like 30, 60, and 90 gallon toters. First of all, if you ever get to the point of tippers going with, well, I think these guys both have rear loaders. We had top loaders. So these little arms that come out and grab the little toters. Everyone that had the little toters would call and be like, hey, my cart's gone. And we'd be like, yes, it's on the way to the landfill, because they can't go into the top loader and get it out. I think it would be less of an issue for them with the rear loaders and getting the tippers. The downside from the administrative standpoint is then the administrative side of if you have a 30-gallon at a senior citizen's house, or, I mean, even myself, you don't have to be a senior citizen. I can go 2 weeks and not have enough garbage to put out myself because I'm by myself. So I do understand that. But it would be, you'd have to base it on size. So if you're genuinely doing it based on the amount of garbage that you can put, I just see it being a little bit more challenging. How many small carts do we buy versus larger carts? And then always having that supply makes that kind of the downside on administrative level. But again, something that we can look at.
I agree with Kevin, though. I think we need a community cleanup before we even start the project, because there's too many details to work out and everybody can't put all their garbage out at once. And I think that even 2 or 3 community cleanups would be a good idea, maybe in the spring before we even get started.
Right.
We don't need to pastor the people that are participating. What we need to do is the people that refuse to participate, make it financially unfeasible for them not to.
I guess the question, John, is should the regular taxpayers who do it pay for the cost of people who don't and live with the consequences if they're next door? So we can do it that way, but
Well, you make
know, if
that, you make those people that are not participating pay, not every Joe Blow on the street.
but what do you mean
How
by
do we
make
do
them
that?
pay?
How do we do that?
They
They
can't fix
participate.
property values, John. They can't fix the unsightliness of the neighborhood. They can't fix the unsalability of the house next door. They can't fix those things, John.
I guess the question is, how would you charge them? If you're saying just penalize them, there's a cost to that. We have an attorney, we have Taylor's time, and it's not fast. And so when you're the neighbor living next door to that, there's a consequence to those people. And that's where I think as elected officials, you have to say, do we allow you the freedom of choice? And if you remember, the downtown assessment people talked about like dilapidated buildings downtown. And they kind of explained it at the economic development level. Your rights end when you affect my property next door. And that's where city ordinances come into play, that we regulate things because the person next door waiting for the cockroaches to come over, or to have to look at the garbage, or to pick up the garbage for the people that don't have toters, like there's a consequence to all those people. And you have to look at the overall, if there's less of them, that's kind of what you balance.
I think you missed my point completely.
Well, I'm asking how you would administer it.
I'm not sure how to go about administering it, but what I'm saying is the people that are not participating,
No garbage.
people that don't do a damn thing, make it so goddamn inconvenient for them that they're gonna get their ass off of the chair and go do something.
Right, but
You
how?
you can't let them just, well, if nothing else, throw their ass in jail.
It's not that simple.
It is.
I mean, we had a
You
chronic,
get thrown in jail for crosswalking, and why can't you get thrown in jail for not hauling off garbage?
Well, I mean, we can assess fines, but again, are they gonna pay the fines? And then what happens is then it goes back on the taxes, property
And that
taxes.
and you can
about
send it
18
in
months.
once
And
a
then
year.
I keep playing the same game again.
Yep.
Cause I mean, I had a neighbor. They did not participate in the trash service. And they would have a trailer full of trash. It stunk too, as they hauled it out to the landfill at the end of the month. I guarantee if I drove out to the golf course, I'd be picking up their bags. Cause they didn't properly tarp it down. It's not fair to the community to see all those bags of trash. Just drive out to the past golf course and see all the trash out there that people are hauling out that don't have it properly tarped down. That makes our community look like crap, people. I don't think you understand that. I mean, when you drive down, I just drove down here. Saw trash cans out, garbage bags out on the street. That's fine and dandy. You have that right, but it does not make our community look good. It stigmatizes us. Until we get something figured out, we need everybody to have a trash service. Not be able to, I understand you want to have your freedom of choice to pick. But everybody needs to be participating in it. That's the part that you have to understand. And a lot of people are missing that point.
And the choosing is just not that easy either, so.
Right.
All right, so we're gonna move on to our public comments. We did just recently approve a new time limit for public comments. We have 3 minutes. We also try to keep our public comments to a total of 20 minutes. Let's see, I've got
Is Lynette one of them?
9,
Did you put your name on?
no.
Thought I saw you behind me.
So there are 9 people, so we can either adjust the time or we can have, if someone was down to speak after we have someone speak, if you agree with everything that they say, you can simply, we can ask for that and then save you the time and save us the time of listening to. So yeah, and the other thing is our city clerk is going to be timing and she will start the clock as soon as you say your name and your address. And then it's 3 minutes, although I think with 9, we should limit it to 2.5. If we, so we can give everybody a chance, but yeah,
You're limited to what?
2.5.
Okay.
Which for most people that usually.
It used to be 2, so 2.5.
That's okay. I didn't quite catch.
And,
what the
So
minutes
Ashley will say something
and
at 2
Ashley
minutes.
will say something at 2 minutes. So she will acknowledge at 2 minutes that you have 30 seconds left. So, all right, let's go ahead and start with Kathy Most.
There we go. I'm gonna be short and sweet. I'm gonna honestly say that after working for the city for 40 years, honestly, the way that the town sort of perceives things, you might want to know the history. In all fairness to this council, to this mayor, to the city administrator, to the staff, this is not new. I get to sit through council meetings for numerous reasons, and this has come up at least 4 times since I've been in the town. I live next door to 2 neighbors that burn their trash. And I could call the fire department and I could ask them to come and the police department can come and they can tell them to quit burning dog poop and diapers. But you know, I'm just gonna say it. I love this town and I know how hard it is for what all of you do. And I think it's unfair to babysit people who refuse to be a citizen. In this paper, I just put down, I scoop my walks, we mow our lawn, I rake my leaves, and I pick up trash every day that is not mine. And I just, you know, that's what I do as a citizen now, but deep down, when I think of a new person coming to town, looking at our town, thinking about a business, buying a home, I don't want to say to them, whoo, you got your hands full. Because as a citizen, you're also gonna pick up trash. So I just want to speak my piece, but I think the town needs to be very fair. That this council, when this was brought up, this was not this council. When this was brought up, it was not this mayor. When this was brought up, it was not the city administrator. And the one thing I have learned over the years in living in this town is when we have a problem, sometimes we just need to find a mutual way but address it. It's not, it's just, I mean, work together, there's a middle, there's a meeting. I've watched a lot of working very hard on this town and I can honestly say it's getting better and I want it to keep going that way.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Monty Most.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
On most 206 East Oak Street.
Okay.
I'm one of the 500 to 700 people that don't have trash pickup. Guess what? I pick up my trash. I dispose of it properly. I came here because I don't get my information off of social media. Thank you, Lisa, for answering my questions. This is going to be imposed on everyone if it does go across the board. Do I think it's fair? No. Would a small, different tax or different size bill be the answer? It may for some people. Me, it isn't going to make or break me. I don't care one way or the other. I think what you've got here is a whole lot of ordinances not being enforced over the last 20 years. It's probably got to this point. You have landlords that do not adhere to city ordinances. You need to fix the problem. It's not a trash problem. In all fairness, it's a bigger picture thing.
Thank you. Martha Bopp, and please state your name and your address.
Interesting that you asked for my address because Martha Bopp, 103 East Linden, kitty corner from the backside of Burger King. Every single day, my partner and I walk outside and say, whichever one does, I win because we pick up the first piece of trash. A lot of it, not all, but a lot of it has Scooter's name on a packing slip. It's not all residents. And they're getting their garbage hauled, but they're not careful about how they put it in. Every single day, there's garbage in our yard.
Thank you. Levi Franks Jr.
Levi Franks Jr. I live at 507 East Knuckles. I've lived here for 50 years. And I have never heard anything about the weight of a vehicle, a trash pickup being hard on the roads. Besides that, and mine is, I don't want Red Oak City Council to tell me who I can have pick up my garbage. I want to choose my own person to pick up my garbage. And I have my garbage, I have to live on a dead end alley. I have to take it all the way up front. And they're talking about fairly a large container. And I don't know whether I could get it up front in the wintertime. And I got neighbors, but I don't think they'd help me. So I don't really think that neighborly thing you were saying is worth it. And I think what you're saying there, they need to have people listen and try to get their garbage, and they can't do it. And I don't see how we're gonna, pick up our garbage, but yet if they don't do it, what are you haven't told me what you're gonna do about it. Thank you.
Karen DeCesar.
Hi guys, my name is Karen DeCesar. I live at 809 Highland Avenue. This is my third year this week of living in Red Oak, Iowa, and we really like it here. First of all, I want to thank everyone for putting up with everything that you guys are dealing with on all forms of media. Really, I don't know if everything's been objective. I know social media has not been. I come from Omaha. I know nothing else besides Omaha. Omaha has always had centralized garbage that was on my utility bill. So when I came here and I found out that I had options, I was like shocked. And I asked people and they can't really give an opinion down there at City Hall. So I just, guessed. And I think it would be so much better if we had central garbage collection, no matter who the hauler is, whether obviously everyone wants local and a lot of people want local. I would like to have a consistent garbage pickup. I would like everyone to start using it. Different ideas that I know you guys have a lot of talking to do and discussions to be had among yourself as you do this. It took Omaha until like a year or two before we moved out of Omaha, before we got those big 96 gallon or whatever size they were, before they got those trucks. So maybe we could do it in partial things where, in Omaha, we were able to have up to 7 garbage cans or bags there. That's kind of a lot. But another thing to think about too, you guys, is once they did get those bigger cans, everyone only got one garbage, one recycling thing. But if you had a family, if you had a household of 5 people or more, then you could sign an affidavit and get a second garbage can.
You have 30 seconds.
Some of us have a lot of people and family members and distant family members living in our house that we're taking care of. I would like the option to have more garbage when you guys are having your discussions too. But again, I'm in favor of this and I thank you guys for actually looking into this.
Thank you. Bob Lattis.
I'm Bob Lattis, I live at 1712 205th Street. And I agree with Mr. Bills when he mentioned about being loyal to our local. And I think that's very important. I've been a customer for over 20 years, so I'm very happy. The thing I really dislike is the idea of this canister thing. I have a dumpster at my house and the last thing I want to do is start dragging some barrel out to the end of my driveway to get rid of my trash, because I'm pretty happy with them backing in there and picking that little dumpster up and just dumping. Real simple, real good. It's been great for 20 years. Why change it? And I just want to mention, I think it's really naive of you guys to think because you charge somebody a bill and give them a bucket or a barrel to think that they're gonna put their trash in it when they're throwing it all over the place anyway. It's an insane idea. It's just not gonna work. If they're grubby now, they're gonna be grubby after you give them a trash barrel. That's all I'm trying to say. It's not gonna change. So, it's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Ann Stalder, I hope I said that right.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ann Stoller from 1605 Greenville Lane here in Red Oak, Iowa. I am talking about the senior citizens here in town. There's a lot of us that cannot carry those big things out to the curb if we get them. There's no place to store them. It's just easier to take out our small bags, what we have, and take them out to the curb. Otherwise, we don't have anybody around, or if they take it out at night, then you wonder if the animals are gonna come and get into it. The critters, the coons, the birds or whatever at night, get in there and scratch it up deer at night in the bag. If you put that out at night, I usually put mine out the next day. And then you got these garbage cans, people are home and don't wanna take them in. But you gotta think of a lot of us senior citizens, because I'm a senior citizen right now. But someday I'm gonna get to a point where my girlfriend is now that cannot pull heavy things. She don't have a garage to put it in. Where would you store it? Store it in the wintertime. Can she store it out by the curb? Have it all ready? Because when we get those deep snows and stuff and your sidewalk's covered up, how are you gonna wheel it out there? Think about big wheels on them or something. Because a lot of us don't have all this heaviness in our arms. We lose them. Or we have other parts that go bad and we can't carry all this stuff. It's just bad enough for me to just pick up what I have. There's weeks that I don't put out garbage. There's every other week I put out. It depends on what I have and what I cook. But my girlfriend across the street has a neighbor that has trash out all the time. She'll just open up the door, dump out what she's got cooked, throws the old pan, or throws a diaper out in the yard. My neighbor has to sit there and look at that, and she don't want that. I probably went over my time, but that's all I
I still
have.
have 30 seconds. Yeah.
Thank you. Angela Goldsmith.
I live at 1600 North 8th Street, right by a school. And I'm always picking up candy bars and school papers that have drifted out of backpacks. So I know what it's like to have to pick up the trash. And I just take it in and I throw it away with my other trash. I haul to the landfill in a covered Jeep. I recycle to the bins downtown by the movie theater. And if this passes, I will disconnect my utility and I will haul my water. I grew up on a farm. I've hauled water before. And if I have to, it'll make life more difficult. I can buy water at Hy-Vee because they have a water system down there. There is bottled water and there's a carbon pump in a neighboring town where I can go get well water.
Okay. Dave Dimmitt. Dave's our last one.
Good evening. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Thank each and every one of you sitting at this table and this community for taking time to care. But one of the things, I was a leader once, I'm retired now and appreciate the retirement. But I used to have to do things that were life and death. I would just respectfully request everybody, the community, you all, I have a philosophy I use. Slow is fast, fast is slow. Sometimes slow is relative. Sometimes it's 10 minutes on the back of a police car trying to figure out what you're gonna do. Sometimes it's 3 weeks trying to figure out what you're gonna do. I would just ask everyone to slow down a bit, please. And we'll get this figured out. But I don't have enough information to make a decision on my own right now. I spend a large amount of time in New York where I live. This is my safe place. This is where I come to be safe. I don't see a lot of garbage issues, and I go out and drive around. But this is a Norman Rockwell kind of city. And I'm a Norman Rockwell fan. This is a good place to be. I wouldn't be here unless I needed someplace safe. But division turns into polarization. And that's Merriam-Webster's dictionary word of 2024 is polarization. Division is one thing. That's when people are willing to come sit down and figure this out. And we all need to do that. But polarization is when people decide, I'm going to this end of the table and someone else is going to that end of the table and nothing gets done. But I just wanted to say to everyone, have a great holiday season. Let's give this a minute or two.
Thank you, Dave. All right, that is all public comments. Do we have any more online?
None online. I just want to mention, I've obviously only been here for a couple months, and I would agree with some of you that talked about the fact that we haven't necessarily been the best at enforcing ordinances. And again, it's sometimes super unpopular and you have to have super thick skin. And I'm a rule follower. And I think the council knows that when we have rules that don't work, I'm more than happy to come here because I think sometimes as a staff representing the employees that do work hard for all of you every day and serve in our public servants, sometimes we have rules that just don't always make sense. And so I think sometimes as staff, we just morph away from enforcement instead of coming to the policymakers and saying, hey, this kind of is something that we need to talk about and maybe we need to tweak the rules. And then it's not popular, but we're staff, like they employ us to work every day and work hard. And we are going to enforce those ordinances. And that's super important to me. And I said that when I interviewed to come here. You can look at my history and sometimes I get run out of a town for exactly that reason. And every place that I've ever worked for always starts out when I interview to say, we want you to enforce the codes until they don't. Because it's not popular. And I didn't come here to be popular. I came here to be fair. And if there's rules that are made, then we should enforce them. And that's where I just want you to know we are committed as a staff to do our best to be better about that. And again, if the rules don't necessarily make sense or they could be better, then we've already had some examples of that in a short time to be able to come to the council, explain why, and then look at tweaking them. And so I just want you to know that even though we talk about things that are not always popular, like this garbage, we are also committed to making sure that whatever rules that we have, that we will enforce them and be the best public servants that you pay to work for you every day that we can.
I just want to thank Lisa for being open to continual conversations. I think it's very important. I'm not so sure we would have had that in the past. So thank you, Lisa. And we said we have nothing else online. I did have one comment from a former council person who is opposed to it as well, but so I have his comment, but okay. Number 9, consent agenda. This includes the minutes of the city council meeting from December 2nd of 2026.
Move to approve.
Right off,
Second.
Hebrink. Roll call.
Right off,
Yes.
Heidsick,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Okay.
Next year.
Number 10, the December 16th city claims to be paid.
I sent everyone an email and then on your desk, you have a few additional claims, stuff that came in today. One of the other things that we kind of found out, Karen and I discussed today as the payables person, that there's a few bills that go through auto pay, like our health insurance, that haven't been on the list before. So we added a few and then we'll work with her to always, so they don't go through G-Works in the same way, so they don't make the same report list when we pay that way, but it's the timeliness of it. So I think it's mostly like the Wellmark, Delta Dental, things like that. So as you start seeing those, that was just kind of a thing that somehow didn't make the list.
Got it.
Yeah, hey, Lisa, I have one question, and it's probably only because you sent that additional list, but what is that TMJ or TMG or whatever that is? That second item, you've got like 4 or 5 listings for it on the additional list.
TSYS.
TSY is how we get utility. It's the fees, I think, that we pay for people who, so like if you pay on a credit card, you can, there's a fee that we pay and then they just sweep it out of our account. So if there's $10,000 in utility bills and then we have our fee, those are the transaction fees that, again, I think we're never coming before the council, but that's the cost of doing business by allowing people to pay with plastic.
Thank you.
Is that what you wanted, Brian?
Does that help, Brian? Councilman, Bills?
You know what,
Did that help?
Lisa, you cut out there at the last, but I'll clear this up with you later. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
I move to approve.
Right off.
Second.
And Bradley, roll call.
Isaac,
I suppose.
Hebring,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bills,
Yes.
right on.
Yes.
Okay, number 11 is opening the public hearings for 3 public hearings. So if anyone has anything that they'd like to share with regard to either of these items, this is the rezoning at 509 East Market Street from residential 2 to commercial 1. The rezoning at Woodland Hills 2 subdivision from residential 2 to residential 3. And then the 2025 comprehensive plan. And then Lisa had some notes, so. Public, I should publicly open the public hearing at 6:40. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share? Did we receive any comments into the city hall for either of these things?
No.
Okay,
Do you want me to give a summary on the comp plan?
sure can.
So I know most of you, for those that don't know me, I'm Danny Briggs. I'm with Southwest Iowa Planning Council. We have been working on updating the comprehensive plan for 2 years.
2 years.
It's been a long process.
Yeah.
But it was 25 years old.
Yes, it was well past its prime, and it needed to be done, so it was a big undertaking. So just a little bit about the plan. Comprehensive plans are a legal document that sets the basis for zoning within the community. It does cover a variety of topics, but above all, it is a land use plan. Decisions and changes made to the zoning ordinances should be derived from the comprehensive plan. For example, if a developer wants to request a zoning change for a parcel of land for housing development, planning and zoning is then able to take a look at the comprehensive plan to see if a development like that would fit into the goals for what the city had laid out and what the future land use map is. So during this process, we did hold several meetings. First public meeting was on February 20th of 2023. And then we had focus groups on October 9th of 2023. We also opened up a community-wide survey in February of 2023, and it was open for 5 months. We advertised it in several ways. It went in the newspaper, it was posted online. It was at Junction Days, yes, thank you. We only got 159 responses. So we did not get the response rate we were looking for, which is why we ended up doing the focus group meetings to help get some more input. And then we had a steering committee that was put together. That was made up from people of different backgrounds. We had council members on there, planning and zoning members, small business owners, hospital representatives, regular citizens. There's all kinds of people on there. We had several meetings with them.
to fine tune this plan and get it to where we thought it was going to be the best for the city. The planning and zoning did have their public hearing and approved moving the plan forward to council, which is why I'm here now. The way this works is that planning and zoning has a hearing. They approve it, comes to council, we have a hearing, and then it gets adopted by resolution. So some key points from the plan, and I believe you all have had access to view the plan. The goals are on page 4 of the plan. There are 4 goals that we identified in here. The first is improve existing infrastructure to support the current population and expand infrastructure where needed to support a growing population. Goal 2 is to enhance recreational opportunities within the city for all ages. 3 is improve the housing stock. And then 4, as we've already heard tonight, is to improve the visual appearance of the city. And then we go into detail on different ways that that can be done with different action items. Another key aspect of this plan is the future land use map, which can be found a little later on in the plan, I believe on page 38. And now we looked at the current zoning of the city and then just how we wanted to grow. We did identify area within the 2-mile boundary around the city that could be potentially annexed. Now, this is not a guarantee that anything will be annexed. This is not a guarantee that anything will be rezoned. We are not rezoning anything. This is just a potential. You know, if the city feels a need to annex for a certain use, they can look at this map and see that, you know, we thought that land in this part of town might be better for industrial, or land over here might be better suited for residential. And when it comes to updating this plan, the previous one was 25 years old. This plan should be updated every 5 years. And it would be good practice to review it annually. And I know we and the steering committee, we had lengthy conversations on this and how we would want it to go about. And I think the consensus was that the group would maybe stay involved and continue reviewing this plan annually to make sure that it fits the city's needs. Because this is a living document and should change as the city changes. If the city is growing and needs to change something that doesn't line up with the comprehensive plan, do an amendment. It's okay. And then later in appendix B of the plan, we did identify, we put in a rough timeline as a visual to help city officials track what they should be doing according to the plan at a given time. So the action items that we had earlier in the plan, I put them in this matrix. Essentially talked about whether this is something that was short-term and we thought the city could do in 2025 or 2026, or whether it was a long-term and it was going to be more like 2030 or 2031. Or maybe it's something that's ongoing and should be done every year. So that is in there as well as a tool for the city. So that's all I have. Are there any questions?
I'd just like to say that the steering committee did a great job, and this is gonna be like a live document where we can meet every year and update it and go over it. And in the past years, I think it was, you know, they hadn't done that.
It was buried on a shelf.
So, and I think that the city as well as the county has learned the lesson about updating the comp plan. It's important for grants and for other things that we're qualifying for money.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Mayor, can I add? So everyone knows we have our strategic plan coming up, planning day.
The 30th.
We're gonna do some things in the morning that are unrelated to the comp plan, but I would like you all beforehand, we have a facilitator coming in I've been meeting with her to kind of make our plan for the afternoon. Instead of us getting together like, hey, let's start talking about our plans. Like, we already have this document. And so what we'd like to do, kind of what you're talking about on an annual basis, and that's why we're not voting on it tonight. We would like you to meet about it on the 30th, and then we'll have you consider the plan in January. But we're also looking at this from like a marketing perspective. Like, how are we marketing, not just a big document that sits on a shelf? And so we're gonna spend a couple $100 to hire a marketing person to be able to sort of create a one-page document and look at like those 4 goals. And then every time we're here discussing something, because it's super easy for elected officials to all be like, let's do this and this and this, and then the staff gets kind of off track. And so we always want to be able to say, like, if these are our 4 main areas, is what we're talking about, like garbage, is related to like housing stock and visual appearance. And so when we talk about something like that, you go back to those goals. So our plan, we're gonna call it like the 4 pillars of progress. Those are our 4 goals. And then we're gonna talk about identifying our purposes. So just make sure that you go to page 4 and look at those so that we have less time to spend reviewing them prior to the 30th. And that's kind of how we're gonna talk about reviewing the vision that's already in there. And then we're gonna look at those 4 pillars. And then, you know, like Danny said, every year, if we did a strategic plan, you can say, all right, what do we check off the list? What's upcoming? And then that helps the staff focus on what are the most important things. And so we're not just having 20 different things that we sort of half-heartedly do and don't do well, as opposed to doing the things that you really want us to do well. And so we're thinking of some sort of one page that like everybody gets a copy. We have them in everybody's offices. And look, when we bring things to you to recommend, are they those 4 pillars? And you give us that good guidance for the year. So that's our plan.
And
For
the
that
goal is for a mayor's annual update to the city, like state of the city, that will help lay out what are the goals for the year based on what we've already done for work. And then also quarterly meetings with key stakeholder groups, so we can kind of chime in on checking that progress at least twice a year, if not quarterly. So I think that we'll keep it more of a living document for sure. So with that, we won't adopt it tonight, but we will have it on the upcoming January meeting. Okay, so thank you for coming, Danny. Appreciate that.
Thanks
And
for
all of your hard work. Thank you.
although I did enjoy all our meetings, I'm glad they're over.
No hard feelings.
Okay.
All
We
right.
want to briefly just say what these 2 results
Please
are.
do. Yep,
Okay.
please go ahead.
So we had a situation with 509 East Market Street, which is where we have a small business there and Wine Barrel Inspirations and a hair salon. When you adopted it previously, which already took this action, we just didn't adopt it administratively in the way that we're supposed to with an ordinance and holding a public hearing. So it's a redo. So when we got to the action item, based on the fact that you did vet this at a previous meeting, I recommended just to get this resolved for the property owners, not their fault that we didn't do it correctly, to consider suspension of the rules, which would take a vote of 4 of you, and to suspend the 3 reading rule and then adopt the rezoning after that. Same thing. And in that case, I think you adopted a resolution. And then in the case of the Woodland Hills subdivision, same thing. It's R2, which only allows for duplexes. R3 facilitates the multifamily, like a 4 and 5 unit. They've already applied for a building permit, and I said to them the same, that I would be asking you to suspend the rules since you went through this process already. And what we limited them on the permit is that they could do no vertical work above ground until we had this resolved. And so they were able to start dirt work, concrete work. We did, as I explained at the last meeting, put the temporary power in so that they could at least get 1 5-unit complex started over the winter. So I would appreciate the council's consideration on both of those to suspend the rules.
Okay, any other public comment? If not, I will close the public hearings for all 3 at 6:52.
You want me to stay for number 20 on the list?
Do we have any intention to discuss it any further tonight?
I don't believe so. I think we'll be okay. Yep. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Drive careful going home. All right, so number 13, ordinance 640, rezoning of 509 East Market Street from R2 residential to C1 commercial. And again, consideration to suspend the 3 separate reading rule. So any motion would have to be stated that way.
Can we do it in one motion? No, does that have to be separate?
All three.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll move to approve first reading of the ordinance 640, rezoning 509 East Market Street.
Oh, sorry. No, the separate motion has to be that you can make a motion to consider
Yes, yeah.
all three at one.
but I have to move to approve the ordinance first reading, correct?
Okay, that's not what we've ever done.
Oh.
If you want to, you can.
No, it's fine if we could do it different.
was
That's
just
the way
to
we've done
suspend
it
the
before
rules.
is.
Yeah, to spend the.
So you're
No,
making a
that's
motion.
fine. The way we've done it before, the way that I guess we were used to doing it was you approved the ordinance at the first reading. And then the next action was we moved to waive the second and third readings. So, no, I'm fine with doing it
What you
differently.
could do is motion to.
Yeah, I'm used
suspend all
to
three
a
readings.
motion to consider suspending the rules and adopting it all with one motion, one reading, one meeting. Then you vote on that. That has to be 4-1. And then your regular motion to adopt it would
Then
come
I-
second, and that can just be 3.
Modify my motion to
To
that.
restate the motion. If you would have restated it, I will second the motion.
What am I doing? How do you want me to do it?
That you are considering suspending the rules and adopting the ordinance tonight with one reading, suspending the 3 reading rule.
That's what I'm doing. That's my motion.
Glad you figured it out.
Good job.
See, I can change.
I will second the motion as read.
All right, so I got a first by Friedhoff, a second by Bradley, roll call.
So I have one thing I just want to throw in there,
Oh,
because
sorry,
we first
is
and
there any
second. No,
discussion? Yeah,
Yeah.
is there any discussion?
so I just want to say that this is all based on the fact it's all been through P and Z and the Board of Adjustments prior. This is just an administrative act.
Not Board of Adjustments, Planning and Zoning.
Planning and zoning,
Yep, very good. That's all I wanted to throw in there.
but yes,
Thank you.
you are correct. All right, roll call.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bills,
Yes,
Fredo,
Yes.
Heidzik.
Yes,
All right. Number 14, ordinance 641, rezoning Woodland Hills 2 subdivision from residential 2 to residential 3 multifamily residential. Again, you can do a similar, and
And to-
again,
There's a new ordinance in front of you. I didn't realize there was a second parcel, and I can't tell if the legal description for the whole subdivision, if you look at Beacon, there's like the northeast corner of the subdivision that has a little shoot street that goes over to Fourth to the north, and the north part of the subdivision, east of the 2 cul-de-sacs. Technically in Beacon right now, it's a separate parcel. So in the ordinance, I list both parcels just to be safe. And then what you do is you record it at the recorder's office, just so that there's, the rezoning is memorialized. So it should be in front of you.
Yeah.
That's the only change, is that it
that's
just,
the only change. So you would actually be adopting the one that is on in front of you.
and it's not amended, it's just, I mean, I amended it, but you haven't voted yet, so you don't have to.
Yes.
I make the motion to approve the ordinance 641 rezoning Woodland Hills subdivision from R2 residential to R3 multifamily residential. And also to consider to suspend the 3 separate reading rule.
So you have to vote first on the suspension of the rules, so.
So I move to vote
To suspend the rules
to
would be your
suspend
first
the
vote.
rules. Thank you for the.
Because it's a higher level, you have to have 4-1 to do that. Okay, that's right. You have to have it.
I'll second that one.
All right, so we got Bradley and Fredo. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bills,
yes,
Fredo,
Yes.
Heidzik,
yes,
Hebrink.
Yes.
And then do we need to go ahead and do a
You're
motion?
voting, yeah.
Now we're
To
voting.
approve the ordinance.
Do I need to go back and do that to number 13?
Didn't we do that?
No, I
Alright.
don't think so.
Did you ever close?
I did close a public hearing at 6:52,
Yeah, that was
I
done.
missed that.
so.
Okay, well, now
Okay,
you voted,
so
so
now
now
we've
2 suspensions.
voted. Yep. Roll call for the suspension.
We already just did
We
that.
did that.
Got it. Oh, it's getting confusing.
You did.
Okay,
Okay, so now you need,
Okay.
so now,
now do both, do separate motions, but then do the motion to approve the rezoning, all 3 readings tonight for 509 from R2 to C1.
yes.
Readings tonight. Somebody wants to motion that.
You can do both at the same time.
Okay.
She's.
Okay.
Screw it up.
Who still want?
Start with,
Motion to.
start with 6.
So ordinance 640 would be a motion to adopt all 3 readings tonight
Okay,
to rezone 509 from R2.
To R3, yeah, C1,
I move to approve
Okay.
that.
All right, so Friday,
I second it.
heat break. Any discussion? Roll call. Bills,
Yes.
Friday,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
heat break,
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Okay, and now number 14, again, is the ordinance for 641 rezoning Woodland Hills 2. You have suspended the consideration for separate readings. So I need a motion.
Yeah, now you're just
Now we
voting
need a
on the
motion
actual
to-
rezone.
Yes,
For
vote
Woodland.
on the rezoning.
I
And
move that we,
Ordinance 641.
to rezone the Woodland Hill subdivision R2 to R3.
okay,
Second that too.
heat brink. So Bradley and heat brink. Any other discussion? Roll call. Friday,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
heat brink,
Yes.
Bradley,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Yes. Trying to get all of these things fixed. That we didn't do quite right. That's right. We'll just do it right the first time from here on forward. Number 15, resolution 2024-80. This is a contract with Lexipol for police and fire departments and,
I'll start if
Yeah.
that's good, and then I.
please do. This is
Chief,
just
can
great.
come up, please, Chief Ramey and Bruce. So this is something that a lot of communities use. I think there had been conversation in the past. There's certainly a price tag to it, but I think when you look at the kind of responsibility that these two departments have and really making sure that as they administer policies, laws, have procedures for their employees, the more clear that it can be, the more that they have a tool in their toolbox to be able to make sure that we're doing everything as accurately as we can. They just don't have the size department that someone can be keeping an eye on that. So you guys want to talk?
Yep, essentially, I mean, the key thing with that is they're gonna have people that's gonna investigate any legislation updates on a yearly, well, actually a monthly basis. They'll send us information on a monthly basis. If there's something that's gonna be key in what we need to do with our SOPs or SOGs, we can make those corrections and additions to whatever they may be to obviously keep us protected and covered.
The other key piece, if I may, is that each faculty person would have to basically, in essence, study it and approve. I mean, they have to. They have
have
to
their
take
own
it
unique
and then
log.
they get logged in.
Yep, so they have their own unique login, and each time there's a
So
new
track.
or a new SOP pushed out that there may be change on, they have to sign off on that document showing that they've read and understand that document. And then therefore it's kept at Lexipol's database. And then if we need it, we have access to it.
And you've just got documentation too, which protects the department, protects the city. So.
Yeah, there was
That's good.
850 different policies, and some of them won't apply to us, but there's 800 different policies that we'll have to go over and implement, may not implement, so.
I think too, if you look, it's a bigger deal, obviously, in the police department because they're more geared towards law enforcement, but there is the extra cost of, you could do 8,000 or 7,500 for the annual fee, and then about doubling that to have the police department staff here really take the lead on implementing it. And I think it's worth the one-time extra $7,000 to be able to say, you know, that he's got someone helping him and getting it implemented quickly. It's the same, you know, if it takes a year or two to get it implemented, I don't know that that's worth the investment, or that it's as effective. And then for Chief Bruce, it's a kind of a lower key part for the fire department. But I think maybe you can explain what they were talking about, like that it's kind of up next and that it should get bigger.
Yeah, it assists us with the 24/7 access to the online learning. There's more than 1,000 courses and videos with over 440 hours of approved EMS, which goes to their national certification. Some of our training drills are done together, but of course, as you know, when it comes to budget, sometimes we have to do just staff on duty training to limit that amount of overtime. So this allows them to log in. It's all recorded. So for us, when we go through our ISO audit for the city, part of that will go to that audit right off the bat. So we get as many points as we can for that, because we want in the lowest number we possibly can for our insurance ratings. The other part is too, and I think it helps with Chief Ramey is you have this expert pool that is always evaluating the current policies, procedures, and laws that we simply just do not have the time to do. So I'm very confident that what they're pushing out is the most current and accepted by law, because you know, every year laws change and everything else. Most certainly more so in the law enforcement world than fire. Ours is more of the procedural side and fire ground operations that changes rapidly. So it's trying to get us something that's workable and, if you will, takes us out of the Mayberry stage and gets us into something at a level, at a professional level that is good for our folks. So our investment was you seen it on the financial side, but we're also able to upload our response guidelines to that and then build from there. Nicole, who was the rep, was absolutely awesome to work with. It's a company that stands behind us. We can call and they'll help us get whatever we need set up, but it's good all the way around, and we really need to get, we're going 2025. It's time to get up to the times, so.
And in that, the law enforcement side has access to the Police One Academy, which provides several training courses throughout that as well.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I think too, it's like making sure that when you bring things like this on, that they're have a good presence in the state that you're in, just because so many things are regulated by the state as well as the national level. And so they're not just looking at the national level, but they have people within each state watching those things. And
Is
so
that gonna require any updating of our hardware?
just an online portal.
Okay.
Just go on the web. So as long as they have a computer to log
Online
into.
program, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
They'll have a unique login.
Yeah.
And just to kind of tell you from a liability perspective, like I worked in a city where we had an underage drinking party. And the police officers entered after talking to county attorney, like the DA's office. And the parents of this underage drinking party challenged us. And nobody likes to settle when you know that people are guilty. But one of the flaws that we had was there had been a new search and seizure procedure that we couldn't show without a doubt that all of our officers that were on scene that day had gone in and had reviewed it. And so that's just an example of like somebody tries to file a claim. This was a civil rights lawsuit that we had. And in the end, when you kind of look at balancing the cost of things like this, there's obviously an expense to it. But in that case, 10 years ago, we paid every child that was drinking at that party, having a great old time, $11,000 to make it go away. And it was super hard for the officers to swallow that. But from an insurance perspective, it was easier to walk away than to go through that whole process. And when you look at things like this, that's kind of the key, is that maybe they knew, maybe they didn't, maybe someone gave it to them, maybe they didn't. But when you have these online portals, as soon as it gets put into our system, it'll kick out an email to the staff. And then if you don't go in, sometimes it might be legit, you're on vacation or whatever, but the chiefs can set parameters. Like if they don't click in 5 days, then it kicks out a reminder and it'll let the administration know, whoever, if the chiefs are doing it or if they designate that to someone else, kind of to be watching that. But it reminds you, it's not just like, oh, I hope that everybody went out and read it. So it's super effective.
Great tool.
So my recommendation along with the chiefs is that we approve resolution 2024-80.
I motion that we approve resolution 2024-80 contract with Lexipol for the police and fire departments upgrade.
Okay.
And it's actually a purchase, correct?
It's a contract, yeah.
It's a yearly purchase, correct?
Yeah, so the amount that you see on the annual is what it'll be going forward.
And we
every year.
save money by bundling it with.
Correct, we got a 10% discount, so it's almost like the fire is free by having them both do it, because I think the 10% is like 2,500 and yours is 2,800 or something, so you might as well bundle it and get the discount.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, so Bradley and Friedhoff, any further discussion? Roll call.
Bill,
Yes.
Friedhoff,
Yeah.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebring,
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Number 16, resolution 2024-81. This is regarding our American Rescue Plan Act allocation of funds. And Lisa did a nice job explaining what we are doing there.
So I think you kind of had your intentions to spend it on most of the things that were listed on here. The 2 ambulances, there was some money given to water, sewer, and stormwater to make upgrades, and a little bit extra. I think there was a second allocation for stormwater. And then, of course, we didn't have a GIS system, which has been a great addition for the utilities to do that. And so to me, it kind of looked like we had spent everything, but there's a deadline at the end of this month that you have to make sure that you are not under, you don't have under the amount of invoices. And so really, you know, we don't want to have to give the money back, and you've already done Eastern Avenue. So with that being almost $800,000, I'm basically adding Eastern Avenue as a catch-all. So we still have a few more GIS bills, things like that. But for example, we're looking at doing Oakwood Avenue. So if we were to do that, to be able to say, even though we could do the project in 25, 26, because you don't have to spend the money until the end of 26. I spoke to Bill Goldie at the league to make sure that we were doing it correctly, and he indicated that unless we had bid that out and had an actual contract signed, that something like that water project wouldn't count. And so I think just as a safe catch-all, it's best to just add Eastern Avenue so we don't risk having to give that money back. If you chose to spend money to like do more GIS or something, you can, but we want to make sure that whatever we're allocating is already something that we have contracts with to prove when it comes to our April logging in and giving information. So that would be my recommendation to adopt 2024-81.
A motion. Nope.
Oh, I'll move to approve.
All right, Fredo
I'll second.
and Heat Brink. Any further discussion? All right, roll call.
Fredo,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Right, and I normally do appointments after the first of the year. However, they may have a meeting prior to when we need to do that. So Brian Lorette's 2-year term on the Low-Rent Housing Board expires in January. So we received notification from their board that they'd like to see him reappointed. So this is resolution 2024-82, a reappointment of Brian Lorette to the Low-Rent Housing Board. Anything else to add to that? Okay,
Does Brian want to do this?
bills?
Fun fact, I did see him at City Hall and I said, are you aware? And he said yes.
Okay,
I
I
hate
just had to
confirmed.
ask, because I mean, I don't want to move forward, then you have, forget, really does not do this.
No,
Yeah,
he
does.
said he was aware and he
Okay.
was fine.
Right, so bills is a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second one.
Okay, Heat Brink. So bills and Heat Brink. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Isaac,
Yes.
Hebrink,
Yes.
Bradley.
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Fredo.
Yes.
All right, so number 18, discussion on the city council payroll quarterly instead of monthly. So as Lisa pointed out, in chapter 17, it's actually section 17.06. They acknowledge that in the past, our code basically says that the compensation salary of each council member is $40 for each meeting of the council or other governmental meetings that the council member has been designated to attended payable monthly. And we are proposing that we pay those quarterly to kind of cut down on the administrative stuff.
Obviously, it's not your main source of income. It just gives Susie a little less, like she's always going through, she has to write your timesheets. We obviously don't expect you to turn them in. So I kind of showed her a spreadsheet that I've used in other communities. She'll just take the attendance from the minutes and then it's just, 2 times 5 of you times 6 times that we'll have less. So if everybody's okay, I didn't want to bring the code back to you, but I would do that at the next meeting just to make sure you're okay with it.
Okay, so that'll come back.
Is anybody opposed?
Okay, number 19, Brian, are you okay with that? This was just
I'm
discussion.
totally fine with that.
Okay, same thing with 19. This is just discussion on our December 30th strategic planning session. We've got a good day planned. I think it'll be very, very valuable to the elected officials, but also to our key department head staff and
Right, so
city hall
there'll
staff.
be 17 of us there. And we'd like to start promptly at 8 o'clock. So we'll be there at like 7:15 just to get set up. I've talked to Anna and Bo about how we like to set it up. We'll kind of have where we can all be together and then we'll have some breakout things that we'll have round tables in the back. So we'll have some little snacky food in the morning, some drinks. If anybody has anything specific you want, let me know. And then we'll provide a light lunch. We'll kind of work through lunch. And the goal is that we're working from 8 to 4.
Good deal. Right.
Oh, and then I sent everyone an email, but the mayor is going to be doing colors training, which is kind of a personality, how to deal with people, different things. And so she'll be sending an email to all of us. Does it come from you or does it come from Colors?
It'll come from me.
Okay, so watch for that and please get on there as quickly as you can to.
Is that like a PI?
It's just.
It's
Some Myers-Briggs
personality.
personality.
You'll look at some pictures and you'll look at some content and
No,
you'll take a
who's
survey.
this way or that way?
And
I
it
can
will
already tell you
not,
what mine will say. Mine stay the same.
it will not tell you what it is until I will tell you what it is when we meet that night, so.
So anyway, if everyone can do that quickly, that would be appreciated.
I need those done, yeah, about a week in advance, so we'll get those out here this week. Hopefully you can all have it done by the end of next Monday.
Before Christmas, right?
Yeah. Discussion of comprehensive plan. Do we have anything really else we need to discuss there? We're gonna bring this back after our strategic planning session, because I think we might prioritize some of the action plans maybe differently than what we've got in the comp plan. We'll discuss it. So that'll be up to the council and the staff. I think the staff have it, get a chance to weigh in on some of that. So, all right. Number 21, actually, I'm gonna,
Yeah, let's skip that.
yeah, can I skip it until next January 2nd?
Please.
January 6th, we're going to table number,
Aaron.
yes, the
Oh, ahead of
codes
time.
until January
Thank you.
6th.
Yay.
Yay.
We already really
Yay.
went through it. I just, technically, we did it early because we had a later agenda last time. So,
Yeah, I went through word for word and wrote some things, so.
yeah, and you can just give them to me if you have them.
Yeah. All right, and number 22 then is just the approval of the 2025 city council meeting dates.
So I like to publish those and then like the pastors had asked. So we have for sure 2 Monday holidays with Memorial Day and Labor Day that I think your practice has been the next day, Tuesday.
Next day.
Right, and then we have MLK, which is not technically a city employee holiday, whereas President's Day is. But I thought maybe we just, because of other people having the day off, banks being closed, do we just want to always have it that if there's a federal holiday that we do it the next day?
Fine with me.
So then we would have on the 2 that you have a choice, January 21 and February 18, if that's okay. And then if
No, I-
that's good.
I
Go
think
ahead.
that makes a lot of sense to just mimic whatever the federal holidays look like.
So if everybody's agreeable to that, I would like a motion that those are the 2025 meeting dates.
I move to approve the 2025 city council meeting dates as discussed after the federal holidays, the day after.
Okay, Bradley,
Second,
right off,
you're only gonna give me so much time.
roll call.
Isaac, Yes. Hebring,
Yes.
Tuesday night.
Your enthusiasm, John.
Bradley? Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
right off.
Yes.
Number 23, we have 3 department reports from the cemetery, police and parks. And I appreciate each of you gentlemen's reports. Does anybody have any questions for, let's say, Brad, or Brad, would you like to share anything specific from your report?
I'm gonna start off by recognizing my employee Ronnie's here tonight, and I think, you know, the shining star of the cemetery, if we have to point out, is sitting back there. So I want to start with that. You guys have got my report. I'd be happy to answer questions. I've got a few things I'd like to bring up. Bucket truck purchase and our new excavator mini hoe has proven invaluable. Sometimes equipment purchases maybe aren't looked at as, you know, all they're cracked up to be, but we, even this week, have used both. So, thank you, you know, for recognizing that.
It sure helps you be able to do your
Thank you
job
for all
if you've
you
got the
do.
right equipment.
Well, the mini hoe situation, I don't think we explored it as much, you know, while it's a shared piece of equipment. You know, we were able to get in the tail end of last week, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day it was. And, you know, there's some you just can't operate over monuments, so we would move monuments or have to have a company come move monuments so that we wouldn't be going over the tops of them. And that mini hoe was able to get in, turn sideways on a pivot.
Wow.
Doesn't tear up,
Nice.
you know, like the bigger equipment does. So sometimes equipment goes a long way towards making the job safer and smarter.
Good deal.
Anything else I could answer questions specifically?
I'm excited about the website. We talked about how many trees that you've replaced. You talked about hiring Orem and the value of your time that saved.
So, and maybe just address that because I know that's an oddity. So firms were brought in to do some weed eating, and also some spraying. And there was a couple of things that we looked at. While I'm licensed to spray, that's shutting down the cemetery for however many period of days that we would have needed to. And as one of my faithful walkers here, it's shutting that down for that period of time, and animals and the kids at school and everything. Lucas came and he and I both sprayed that day. He stayed till about 7 o'clock. And, you know, we covered so many acres that we wouldn't have, and we tried to break down some of the pricing so that the council could see some of that on trimming and spraying.
Excellent. I know the downtown planters and watering those is a frustration for both the park and cemetery, but we do appreciate it. I don't know if we need to talk about that at some point. Did you want to talk a little bit about the planting of the trees or anything with regard to the over on Senate Avenue?
So obviously with the highway construction, and I don't want to get into Mr. Baird's territory too much, that is technically his, but I'm going to speak until he shuts me down. I've talked with the city administrator as far as our goals and everything that we are looking at up there. It's a bad situation. They're not going to do anything with the ditches and sides this year. That'll be a spring thing if I'm talking correct. We've got from basically, they removed all the trees from 4th to 8th on the north side. We are talking about the trees that begin at 8th Street on Senate to the hospital area. Plain and simple, they're the wrong trees. They should never have been planted underneath those power lines. They have been V'd, lopped to one side. We still have issues. We went through and tried to get them all off the street, so Taylor was happy with me.
But our plan is to take them down.
The plan is to take them down. We do have to look at some considerations due to we can't operate within 16 feet of those power lines because of the continuity that runs there. So Chris and I have explored some options on that just to get them maybe cut down, and we do some of the work, but
sometimes they can top them.
You know, there's a beautification plan that needs to be looked at for that.
Yes.
As a big picture, but I think the state needs to finish their work before we get to that step.
Okay. And I appreciate always your numbers for the year, your annual numbers for full burials, cremations, grave
Which
spaces.
that's through December or to December 1st, obviously. So we had a 6-call week last week. So the numbers, you know, are going to change, but that'll be reflected in the
Do
next.
they have any type of erosion control on there right now, other than?
On the highway? So the only erosion control that I'm aware of is at 8th and on the north side.
I didn't see any on the south side, that's why I was wondering.
I don't think there's any on the south side. What has been told to me that I've participated in is that they have to go in and remove a lot of that bottom area of those ditches. So, you know, they've done a little bit of work, and you can see the little pods that are placed on the north side. Erosion control is done right there.
But how susceptible is that gonna be to flooding or melting of snow? Or
I think
whatever?
that'll be one of the things they tackle as soon as they come back. Obviously, they've got the sides and everything that they've got to do, but you know, that's gonna be the final piece of the work for them. I'm sure.
Did you have anything else that you'd like to share?
Thanks, Fran.
I want to thank you and Ronnie and your team for.
Thank you, Ronnie.
You work very, very hard in both the freezing cold and the very hot heat of the summer, and we greatly appreciate what you do. So, thank you, gentlemen.
Brad has another meeting, so he's scooting.
Yes. All right, Chief, do you want, is anything with regard to the police report?
I don't have anything other than, we'll get you guys we gave you kind of a semi-graph one now.
Yeah.
We'll get to the end of the year before we come up with the rest of the calls. And then, probably March or April, we'll give you your colorful little packet that we normally do.
You want to talk about, our discussion, what Amber's making for the guys to go out and try to be proactive about the snow?
Oh, yeah. So obviously it's winter months, so we're doing, kind of revising or reviewing our snow emergencies. So we're going to make little cards to give friendly reminders to everybody that's parking on the streets, of the snow emergency, to obviously have it off. Once the snow emergency is declared, your car can't be on a parked on a public roadway. So we're gonna get those developed and kind of get them out. The guys are gonna pass those out, throughout your travels, throughout the days and nights. So,
We had a street meeting as well today, just kind of a department get together, and they talked too about just how some people still park on the square. And I'd asked Shay to go out last Friday, well, 2 Fridays ago, to get the leaves off the square, and that there were a lot of people. It seems like the east side, I think is what Chris and Shay said, is kind of the guilty side, so maybe asking.
the Reed Street side, yeah, Reed Street seems to have always been problematic. And you can cite them and cite them and cite them, and they still don't catch on. So, but, we will continue on with that.
And we're gonna, I think there's only like 25 people that get downtown permits, and we have those, so we're thinking about just sending a letter to be proactive, like, hey, the new year, send it out this week, reminder that your permit expires on the 31st. And, you know, the more that you can say, hey, you got this, just kind of goes better than just putting a crackdown on people. So thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And then Parks, Adam is here as well.
The biggest thing I'll talk about, you know, going over this, the list of stuff that, since last give report, the biggest thing right now for us is the pool, is that fall pad. I met with Stan from ACO, he's our pool supplier. The issue with the fall pad we have right now is there's 2 separate pieces that are installed there. So when you come off the family slide, those pieces are basically at the end of life and are worn out. So, I had him come down and look into that as far as options for what we can do in the future. He has recommended a 2-piece system that's interlocking. So that way it's not, you know, it still will look like 1 piece, it's 2 pieces separately, but they'll interlock and there won't be a channel in between that could come up, or, you know, if you look at it right now, they're all screwed down. The screws on the new one will be all around the outside. And so hopefully that will give us a little bit more life out of it, as far as the amount of water that's hitting it, the amount of fall that's being placed on it, and the amount of pressure that's getting hit with it as people fall. So the 2 options we have for that are $5,100 and $5,500 for those 2 pieces. Anything that deals with pool or parks are expensive and outrageous, but that's kind of what we have to deal with the park system and the pool system. There's not a lot of companies that do this type of stuff. So, and with talking with him, he said, you will still have to screw the outside around on these, but hopefully we'll be able to put a glue down that'll keep them from coming up during the summertime. So
okay,
that's one of the biggest things we're dealing with right now. And the rest is basically everyday stuff that we do in the parks. So checking, trash pickup, closing the bathrooms mid-October, depending on the weather, that sort of thing. So
You help with snow removal.
yep, snow removal, all that good stuff. So all fun stuff. Any other questions?
Fountain Square Park, did we ever figure out that leak that was going on there, or where was it leaking?
So we don't know where the leak is, but we do have a new part for the filter. So next year we can get that back up and running again. We'll have to repaint that next year. The paint on that does get expensive. It's pool based, so it's rubberized. It's, you know, it's again, deals with park and pool.
Right.
Price tag seems to add
Does it
zero
seem
there.
like you could fill it up the next day? I know there's evaporation, but it
Yep,
was.
and that's the thing. The fountain does get filled up every day. It is 7 days a week, every day from mid-April through when we shut it down mid-October. So.
And that will get put on with another coat of paint too, that rubberized.
Yep, the rubberized paint. Yep, that will come out and it takes about 3 to 5 gallons, just depending on that sort of thing. So, and then put it on, let it sit for a while, let it cure a little bit, and hopefully get some more life out of that. So.
Yeah. Tell me about the tree that caught on fire.
So yeah, got called in on a Saturday from police department, had individuals at the park and called in that a tree had started on fire. I mean, it's assuming vandalism, but there's really no way of catching them. But so we had to call Scott Wilson in to take the tree down. It was a larger mulberry tree that's at Kelly Park, kind of north of our shelter house there. So.
I would set a tree on fire.
So hollow tree and anything in the middle that's
a little campfire supply.
Basically a little campfire supply, and it was I can't remember the exact date of it, but it was a weekend when it was really windy and they had all field fires. So right as I got called, they got called out for another field fire. So I got there and then as they came back, we were able to get it down and get the fire extinguished. So lost some good tree, but part of that is to every fall we do plant trees through two of our grant programs, the Trees Please through Mid-America and the Arbor Day Foundation. This year we planted, I think, another 14 trees in the parks. So we plant trees in the fall time. Once we plant those trees, we will water them weekly, anywhere between 5 to 10 gallons. And then yearly we'll water anything that's a 1, 2, or 3-year-old tree that we planted. So we do it in the fall to keep you get cooler temperatures, and it keeps you from doing it all summer, basically, that you're not kind of wasting your time with that. So it's a shorter window that I have to maintain them.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Okay. Administrative report number 24.
Just a couple of things. Number one, we had talked about that we were gonna be enforcing water curb stops not working. I think somewhere around 7 or 8 have already been replaced by our contractors, where we'll assess that out. Some property owners were attentive to our requests and did it themselves. So we're working on that, and then obviously can shut people off. So we picked the highest delinquent bills. I think one was like $1,300. The people have been ignoring us. What's the name of the grant that we found out that we got today for historic neighborhoods?
CLG grant.
Yeah, so
The CLG grant. We're not supposed to really announce it until after the press release, but that's okay.
Well, no, I'm glad we got that. I'm glad we did, that needs to be done.
Yeah, basically the historic neighborhood.
working on more, minor improvements to City Hall. We have cleaned up the walls. We have painted one of the walls in the lobby, kind of took off all of the sheets of paper hanging everywhere. Gonna kind of try to put up nice pictures and make it a little less, whatever the word is.
Looks good.
It's cleaner, it's cleaner.
It looks
Yeah, the
nice, professional.
Ceiling looks white, not yellow.
Yes, it's
What it
professional.
looks
I
like
mean,
smokers
it's-
back in the day.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
smoking
it's cleaned up.
Yeah.
All the wood has been
And all the
polished
oil's
and
gone.
stained and it looks nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And with, you can't believe how much coat of paint makes things look so
For
nice.
sure. So we're working on that. We've been, I think I said this before, but Kathy and Taylor have their secret talents of like drywalling and fixing walls, and Kathy painted the ceiling for us. So it's definitely been a team effort, and she's been super happy to just be included and be part of the team. Same thing we already talked about, just kind of prepping for snow. The guys have been doing that. The airport commission went out for bids on a new airport engineer. You have to do a 5-year plan. They received a proposal from Snyder and McClure. They approved last week, Monday, McClure to be their engineer for the next 5 years. And then what was presented and approved by the state and feds is a new hangar at the airport. We have a high list of renters on the waiting list, and so it'll be a 6-bay. I think we pay about 10%, which is around $100,000 for a almost $1 million building. So that'll be a nice addition. We'll budget for that next year.
Was McClure our engineer before?
Like way before, and then somehow I think it got switched to Snyder. It's Pete.
Yeah.
He's worked out there a lot.
And that's pretty much what Pete's background's been, is in aeronautical.
And it just like, I sent a nice email to Dave at Snyder and just said we appreciate it. And obviously you still have other projects that you're doing with us. We just felt that McClure had a stronger aviation department that's paying more attention to that. And so we chose to go with McClure. They did. Couple other things we've been talking about that we're enforcing floodplain a little bit differently, properly, but differently. And one of the good things that I've been able to work through is obviously, there's a lot of our community that is in the floodplain, which is super detrimental to our goals of improving our housing stock. And so one of the things that I found out, which was important, was anything that is on the historic registry downtown, which is the vast majority of our buildings in the square and like the block around it, are exempt from floodplains. So I got super nervous when I started looking at it, thinking like the O'Neill buildings, the Catalyst grant that we just got, but those are all on the registry, and so they're exempt. And then there's kind of a middle ground where they call it contributing, possibly contributing to the historic stuff. And so if it's possibly contributing, then we can also exempt them. And then I confirmed with FEMA and the DNR today, I got the word back that if they are non-contributing, they still do have to comply with the floodplain. And then because of the lofts open house, we had Debbie Durham here on Friday. Tim attended on behalf of the city. The mayor was busy at a training. And so we spoke to her and she had some good ideas. As you know, there's been conversations about this pump that would help alleviate a large portion of the floodplain and move water from the creek to the river. And that it could be upwards of $2 million. And she kind of talked about some different ways that maybe we could help package the funding of that isn't just exclusively on the city taxpayers. And so we'll look at that, but it has a huge impact to our housing stock and commercial buildings also. And then, so that's good. You'll start seeing Verizon bills. As everybody knows, chat mobility is done. I was finally able to get a hold of Verizon has government employees that they only focus on government. And so we're actually getting a really good deal. Everyone gets a new phone for free. They upgraded it from the 120, whatever it is, gigs to the 250 something for free. And then if we get new phones, if you don't get new phones, you get a $50 credit. If you get new phones, you get a $200 credit per line. I don't know how that works. Yeah. Seems a little strange, but maybe they think your phone's newer and you won't have issues. But basically we'll get a $3,200 credit for switching. We have 16 lines in our account. So we're working with that. We'll talk about it at the staff meeting just to make sure everybody gets the phones that they want. We'll be doing that. And then the last thing that all of you know, but we might as well kind of announce it as a good kind of thing for the public is that if you recall a couple meetings ago, or I think it was the first meeting in October actually, that we switched our bank account from the checking account to the sweep account. And the good news for the city is that we went from earning about $1,100 or $1,200 a month in interest to $20,000. So it is a significant impact decision that earned us an extra $200,000. And so as we talk about some of the things that we can, obviously we're not just spending it to spend it, but when you look at things like, if anybody questioned things like Lexipol, I think, we have that savings this year. And then obviously we also got the word from our health insurance that was a significant decrease. And so those two things alone are almost $500,000.
And how long will that continue? As long as
I think they review eventually what the interest rate is, but it's significantly higher when you have that much money in there.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was so excited about that when you told me that this needed to be done a long time ago. I think sweep accounts is so important to our financial, just our viability for the city. I mean,
so it's hard when we talk about some of the more controversial things, but hopefully what we can show the taxpayers is that we're also working hard as a group and a team to try and bring ideas to the council to save money for the taxpayers and make decisions that aren't just about spending.
And that's significant.
Yeah,
Those two things are significant.
Well, it paid, like you said, it paid for our Lexipol that, for our police department and our fire department. It's great.
Yep.
Yeah, I think already as of December 1st, we had earned 27,000 because we had a partial month in October. So when you look at that, total was 22,000 or whatever. So 1 month almost paid for them.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's all I have here.
Thank you. You rock. My mayor's report, the only thing I really want to comment on is that the open house for the 1917 lofts was last Friday, the 13th, which was just quite the perfect date for that project. And Saturday, the 14th. And I just appreciate everybody that's been involved in that project, from Derek O'Neill with the design, the school district, Builders Development Corporation, all the contractors and subcontractors, the city, everybody that's been involved in it. It's been a really long project, and I knew that they had 7 leased units. They had 2 more that they knew they were going to lease, and they had over 300 people through there in those 2 days. So I know they still have some things to fix and some things to swap out and touch up. But with what all they've been through, I'm impressed that they've made the progress that they have. And so it's going to be a really nice place. And, it's like you can jump up and down on those in any of those apartments. You can make as much noise as you want and nobody's going to hear you because of the concrete walls. So it's it's a very sturdy building. It's centrally located right there by the downtown. It's just gonna change the
They
dynamics
took
right
away
downtown.
that whole south end when
Yeah.
we were taking, that whole south end was pretty much taken down and retucked.
Yeah,
New brick put in there.
so.
Big
anyway.
undertaking.
So, and Debbie Durham did come and speak and, you know, the investors that really brought that project back out of the grave are really, we need to thank them for what they did because they have made a $10 million+ investment in our community.
I'd just like to say that, John, that you did a great job giving the history and how it started, and for the people that don't know what effort went into that, years of planning, and you did a great job of explaining that, and you were very significant in getting this going, and thank you for doing that for the community.
Yes, you're welcome. It's great to see it finally done.
I know.
It was a 7-year project, so, yeah. But the other thing, I'm looking forward to the strategic planning. I think the colors will be really fun. Really help each other understand how each other reacts and it's based on your behaviors and how you make decisions. And so I think it will help with our team across the board. Even if you may know what your colors are, it's nice to know exactly what your colors are. And then Karna Lowenstein, who's the trainer, she worked with me at MAPPA. She does a really nice job. She's very professional and she's now retired doing this on the side. And I think she'll do a really nice job helping us take and narrow those pillars, and really have some sturdy goals for this next year as we move forward into next year. I will be working on my State of the City address and I will give you guys an update on that. I think we might host that at possibly Arlington Place. So I would record it from Arlington Place and it just gets me out in the community a little bit more and probably alternate every year where that would be done. So. That's what I got for now. City council reports. I'm gonna start with Adam.
Yeah, I was at the opening of the lofts. This week, there's nice to see a bunch of people there and just people touring just because I remember this room. So that's all I got there.
Okay. John?
I have nothing other than the fact that being the oldest of 11, we had our Christmas dinner yesterday. There was still 9 of us around. Other than those 9, I didn't know any of the other 75 or 80 that was there.
Did you do it here in Red Oak?
Huh?
Did you do it here in Red Oak?
No, in Bedford.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask you where you had that many people. So, all right. Good deal. Tim?
You know, I think I'll spend my moment just with a comment, and that is that I want to thank Lisa for all of your hard work you've done since you've started. I think you have exceeded any expectation that I had. I appreciate the level of transparency that you have brought, which we've all been fighting for, but it is the most this city has seen in over 20 years, guaranteed. I appreciate all the information you provide to the council. Again, more than has ever been received in previous years, guaranteed. You've done an outstanding job, and I just look forward to what else we will see from you. Thank
And
you.
with good morals and character.
Yep.
On top of that.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
And professionalism, but also willingness to work with people and look at people and not, I mean, I've been very impressed by that. So
And I think just remember, I think like, not only for you, but the citizens and for the staff, like, you've all been through different times and hopefully we're building a good team for all parts of our organization.
I absolutely think we are. So good deal. Sharon?
Well, we had our 30th anniversary of Questers this last week, and Questers is moving ahead with the cemetery. We'll probably do a cemetery walk again next year. We have as everybody knows, there's a lot to do with the cemetery, so we hope to continue that. I attended an Altusa meeting also, and I just want to know that Altusa and Red Oak, I belonged here a long time ago, but we have 55 women now. That's pretty unique for a town of our size, to have that many women involved in an organization. I also attended the Lofts I said, Shauna, you did a great job. I think everybody that attended really enjoyed the history of the high school. I graduated from there and I know Adam taught there. Is that right, Adam? For years. And my kids all went to that high school. And so it's a lot of history for me to look back and see. And I talked about the display, the display cabinet that they have and how we can put some of the high school memorabilia in there and gather that up, and some of the teachers that might be able to help with that. And then I also went to business after hours at the Riverbend.
Yes.
And it was kind of we thought it was gonna be an icy night, but there were about 30 of us that attended, including several from the council. Mayor
Very
and
nice.
the city administrator, and so it was very well, and she was so glad that we came out on that kind of a night, so I think she appreciated it.
Incredible catering.
They're a great asset to our
They're
community.
catering, yes, absolutely.
They get people from all over.
Yeah, it's like, it's nice to be able to provide a regular hotel and then something that's a little
It
bit
is.
more intimate, and she'll talk about like families that come there and, you know, people become like our family, so I think.
And it's really an event center too, because they host several family reunions, class
Birthday
reunions,
parties.
everything. So.
Good job.
That was super great then.
Good job. All right, and I do think it was really great to have Betty Durham here because she got to tour the property, which she had never done before. And she got to see the gymnasium and then come to understand the challenge with the gymnasium and the auditorium because of the financing that
Yeah.
funds that project. And I think she might be helping consider how we might look at that differently. Maybe we could get a little creative. So might have conversations.
And Tom Shipley attended also.
And Tom Shipley also attended, yep, and Michelson from the county, so
Yes.
good deal. All right, with all of that, oh, Brian, Councilman Bills.
The
Bills, yeah, anyway, yeah. So, I am on the other side of the Rocky Mountains, but I was able to attend two of the county supervisors meetings via Zoom. And I would also like to just make this statement. Last meeting of the year, 2024, I would like to thank every single one of our staff, our employees, fellow council members, and every single one of our citizens who cares and contributes to our community. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you all so much.
When are you coming home?
I'll be in person for our next meeting.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Good deal.
see you then.
Yeah. All right, with that, I would also say, have a happy and safe holidays, everyone. And again, I ditto what he said about our staff. So it's great to see our staff enjoying working with each other. And it's great. So with that, I would call this adjournment at 7:45.
The Bears are losing.
So.
Big surprise. And the Packers won last night.
They did. They had a good game.
They wrote my wit list.
Wow.
Thank you.
1600 North Bay.
Sit up, sit there. You read this. I took everything I could to not.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna call.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
Hello there, my dear. You wanna get Taco Bell? Yeah. For dinner. I'm starving. Sound good? Like that is set. All this time. Yay. So fun.
Everything's stuff.
I told Brian that Jack is in my house. It's in my bathroom.
Okay.
When we beat Chris, final on a Friday and they had me lower his. From twice a day to once. Yeah, they're good. He went backwards. So she had me go ahead and put him on twice again today. So I'm hoping that by tomorrow he's better. And we'll see where he is on Wednesday. He's gonna get another antibiotic shot.
Yeah.